gentlemen, as always, I'm your host, Airsoft Al, and welcome to another pitch meeting. Today we're talking about Harry Potter. And before anyone rolls their eyes and groans, here's the thing. We're talking about clone troopers.
Excuse me, the fuck did you just say?
Oh yes, clone troopers. And the one thing I've kind of seen a good amount of, and something that's never really been fully explored to an honestly good extent, and is sadly dropped as soon as the idea comes, is what would happen if the clone army of the Republic was actually a template of Harry Potter, a force of force-sensitive or magical clones. There are two stories that kind of take this idea. Oblivion 12's, I believe, one-man army, and of course, another which is known as Army of One. I may have mixed these up, but they legitimately do have cool concepts and premises, and I kind of want to take that and actually make it something meaningful, or at least making something more entertaining to a very large goddamn degree. Because, here's the thing, Harry Potter Raised on Kamino actually legitimately is a cool concept, and something that actually could be pretty cool in of itself. I say this because if you really look at the idea, and I do mean the idea, where Harry Potter somehow ends up on Kamino at a very young age, and because of his abilities detected in his blood and his high midichlorians, which basically kind of translates to midichlorians, the Kamino cloner, having an army like that, legitimately does work for this type of setting and idea. And let's be honest here. It works great also for a reaction fic if you wanted to go that route, like what I'm doing with Medea, where, you know, they try to summon Harry Potter through the Goblet of Fire, but instead they're watching something and seeing this boy's life, or in some cases get transported. So let's actually take this idea, this concept, and roll with it, shall we? See where we're at. So how does this begin? Well, unlike the two clone fics I've already established, they feature an older Harry Potter. And while one, which is 11 chapters long, actually legitimately has a cool concept with the fact that Harry Potter kind of pops out at around his 5th year or 6th year, give or take, and basically his clones, his brothers and sisters, yes, sisters, we'll get to I'll use that plot point a little later, basically know about Earth, their homeworld, and why they were created, to basically fight the great evil of Voldemort. That is a cool concept, and I will touch on it in that fic, in the review I'll do later on. But the big thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that in this, I'm not doing, I mean, personally, I wouldn't do it to where it's an older Harry Potter. If anything, I'd do it to where it's a younger Harry Potter, maybe about 7, 8 years old, give or take, where he has been beaten by his uncle, abused, and is scared and alone. He wishes to be anywhere but here. At that point in time, Mother Magic, or at least just magic, or even the Force in general, whisks him away to the one place where he could fulfill his destiny. Yes, the prophecy is still a thing, but unlike most, it's more of a Force prophecy. Not Force as in force down our throats, no, I mean as in the will of the Force. Because as much as I like the idea that Mother Magic and the Force are two separate entities, I also love the idea better that they're actually one single entity. The idea that Earth, humanity's lost world, is actually this Earth where Harry just came from. And all these magic users are just Force sensitives who have no idea this is the Force they're using, and they're channeling it that way, or at least it's Force magic. Much like what the Night Sisters use, and Mother Talzin. And for those who completely have that going over your heads, and immediately trying to pull the Acolyte BS, no. Acolyte's not canon. Acolyte will never be canon. Acolyte does not exist. It's like Blues Brothers 2000. It doesn't exist. Or even other things that don't exist. Just saying. Okay. Just saying.
This is not fucking canon!
So, yes, a young Harry Potter is whisked away to Kamino, where he himself is basically not only, of course, discovered by the large Kaminoans. Kaminoing? Kamina? Kamino? Kamino? Let me know in the comment section down below how you would say multiple Kaminos. Kamino people? Kamino people? Yeah, Kamino people. The people of Kamino which of course includes a few others. Now, this is where Harry's actual destiny is changed forever. Harry's brought in, healed up, and his blood is used as a template for the clone army. Now, of course, in both fanfics that actually use this as a, example, basically there's a rogue Kamino leading a rebellion against the Kamino people, more or less. He's kind of brought into the Kamino Civil War. Now, in terms of what year this takes place in, or at least where this kind of takes place in, this takes place at least 5 years before the invasion of Naboo. It isn't until, of course, after the events go on, Naboo, the invasion of Naboo happens. The only difference is that when the clone army is created, the Force, the reason that basically the clones don't get affected by the chips, or at least in this case, Order 66, is because the clones make it, or at least the Force makes it so. Now, it's not to say that the Jedi Order doesn't need to be kind of, shaken up a little bit. I'm not saying that. In reality, the events would still happen a little differently, except in this case, when Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's just that when the clones start becoming, bigger and bigger and bigger, and you have a large concentration of Force-sensitive children in one place, Jedi are going to take notice. It isn't until the Jedi do take notice that they start kind of using the Force to find this large concentration of Force sensitives, afraid that they may fall to the dark side. And let's face it, it wouldn't be wrong if someone was to write a Sith-type scenario out of this, but we're not going to do the Sith-type scenario. We're going to do mostly the moral gray scenario. Basically, they're being soldiers, and that's what they were created to be, soldiers, good soldiers. Soldiers following orders.
Good soldiers follow orders.
Now, it isn't until they do discover Kamino through the Force, because, again, large concentration of Force-sensitive motherfuckers right there. They discover that there is a lot of clones. A lot of clones, both male and female, because when the Kamino clone... Because I do like the idea that Harry would not have the Kamino cloners actually destroy a batch of clones because, their gender is not what they want. And that actually does bring up some cool concepts and ideas. Now, this is where it gets kind of fun, because as soon as the Clone Wars do start, because time moves relatively different through space-time on Earth, Harry Potter, his letter doesn't go out. He's still alive, but they can't find him. So, yeah, that's kind of a thing. He is not able to be found. Where is he? Well, he's currently fighting in a goddamn war. Because as the 4th year comes around and the Goblet of Fire happens, there are many options of how one can handle this kind of situation. I'm going to go down the 2 routes here. Let's go route 1. Turning this into a semi-reaction fic. And by semi-reaction fic, I mean the Goblet of Fire is showing us, or at least in this case, the people of Magical Britain, the Clone Wars now different. Essentially, Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, except in this case, different. Even doing little snippets here and there, kind of showing what's going on here. And even when it introduces Harry Potter and the clones and the fact of, oh my god, he has an army. It's just the fact of, this will be boggling to the Magicals and everything in between. Essentially, they're looking at Harry Potter. And Harry Potter. And Harry Potter. And a female Harry Potter. And then when the Battle of Geonosis happens, they legitimately watch as their little quote-unquote war doesn't hold a damn candle to what they're witnessing. Hundreds of thousands of clones being thrown into battle, led by incompetent Jedi. Now, of course, this is where things could change a little bit. Harry not trusting the Jedi, much like in the 2 clone fics I mentioned again earlier, he could actually demand that the Jedi not really take a military role in the conflict. They take more of just the peacekeeping role, or the medical role. Basically, have the Jedi not be in military position, have actual career military officers in these positions. Again, it's whatever someone would want this to do, but let's basically say that still the casualties of Geonosis still happens and does happen. The Wizarding World just witnessed a goddamn war. They just witnessed thousands, hundreds of thousands of Harry Potters, both male and female, charge into battle against alien bugs and die for a galactic republic. They sacrificed their lives for the for the galaxy, basically, for basically all this. And again, how one makes this happen, they could have it to where, much like Medea, they choose certain things, like certain movies, episodes, all this stuff, until finally, Harry Potter does show up on Earth via the Force guiding him. And when the Force guides him to Earth, he basically pulls a V. And, again, blows the lid on the whole planet, saying that, yes, the Force is real. And when magic users kind of freak the hell out, it's basically how everyone wants to do that. And again, there's a lot that can be done with that scenario and situation. There really is. But that's Route 1. What's Route 2? Route 2 is where basically it's not a reaction fic. The Goblet of Fire, again, still happens. And instead of, say, one Harry Potter gets summoned, it's not one Harry Potter. In fact, it doesn't summon him per se. Because, of course, that cliche notion of the Goblet of Fire would just automatically drag someone in somewhere forcefully against their will. In reality, it's the Force guiding him. He has a strange feeling. All the clones do. A sort of like calling, a longing to go somewhere. The Force is telling him to go somewhere because there is a dark evil on a planet far, far away. And so they take a fleet, under, of course, permission of Chancellor Palpatine, and go to search for this planet, this feeling. Along with some Jedi, of course. Our favorite Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Snips, Anakin Skywalker, Padme Amidala, of course, is joining because, of course, she's joining along. And they just go off. And when they find Earth, that's when things can go crazy. How the Magicals would react to this is completely up to how an author would make it. And the fact that this story idea could actually be chalked up to being able to have either a manipulative Dumbledore or an evil Dumbledore or just a senile Dumbledore, yes, that's an actual tag, mind you, it doesn't matter. I'm presenting a story idea that has not been done before, has not been done yet, because they've always done, or at least twice so far, they've always done an older Harry Potter. There has not been a actual, legitimately true, honest-to-God clone Harry Potter army arriving on Earth fanfiction. I don't know if it's because people believe that that is just basically creatively bankrupt or what, but it's not. It's actually a legitimately cool idea, and I want people to take that idea and actually fucking roll with it. I want people to take this idea and actually do something with it. I know you guys are probably saying, well, are you going to do it? Hell no! I've already got enough stuff on my plate as is. Aside from YouTube, and of course the farm, and of course everything else. I've got enough on my plate as is. However, there's one guy I believe could possibly do it. But I don't know if he would be down for the challenge. Putting that aside for now, there is a lot that can be done with this premise. Including, there being first contact with the governments. There being, of course, first contact, only going strictly to the magical side of it. Or, like I said, pulling a V and literally showing up all over the place. Or at least just in straight up London town and basically telling people, oh, hey, you're not alone in the universe. There be aliens. Them aliens! But I've spoken my piece about this. Of course, if you guys want to, and you want me or a friend of mine to try and make this happen, what am I saying? Just a friend of mine to try and make this happen, let me know in the comment section down below. I'll try and essentially bully him into the idea. Or blackmail him into the idea. Haven't decided yet. I might do the blackmail, because blackmail seems to work pretty well in certain situations. Till then, ladies and gentlemen, as always, I've been Airsoft Al, and I shall see you lovely people in the next video, and if you want to help support the channel, links down below. And, yeah. Till next time. Later.